So we wanted to, first I think it's good that we kind of get to know each other, and but I think it's good that we draw on any experience we've had working with teens. And so I really want you to be thinking that as we go throughout the rest of this little class. And we're going to draw from those experiences and help teach each other of kind of some good ways to interact and engage teens and really make a connection with them so that we can make progress. So just keep that in mind as we're going throughout.
So with that in mind, like Jessica said, I want you guys to think about some of the mentors that you had as a teen, and what in particular was it about them that you liked or that really helped you. So if anyone wants to comment. Yes.
So I run track here, and like growing up, I did a lot of sports. It was always my coaches, because they were the ones that like they trained you to do what they knew you were capable of doing, and they were the ones they would always be the ones to enable you and tell you that you can do more things than you think you can.
Okay, awesome. So he shared, just for the camera's sake, he shared that he had coaches who believed in him and could work with him at his level. So I think that's really important, to be at their team's level and what their capabilities are and use their strengths. Anyone else? Yes.
I remember as a teen, I was frustrated at all of the negative ideas surrounding the teenage years.
Yes.
And I really loved and trusted those adults that kind of, like he was talking about, believed in me and didn't throw all this negative, oh, well, you're just a teenager, but they actually believed in me, and I felt like because of that, I rose to the occasion.
Right. Okay. So she shared that also believing in you, and I think not discrediting you just because you're a teen.
Right.
And, because sometimes they're like, well, you're a child still, which technically, they are kids still, but they have a lot to offer. And there is a lot of negative things associated with teens, but,
I think that can actually perpetuate the problems.
Yes, definitely.
Because you're just basically just stating, oh, well, you're just this.
Right.
So then you're always just going to be
right.
That.
So that they're treating you with the respect that you deserve, and therefore the teens are a lot more respectful, I think, when we are respectful with them. And they know that you care about them. They can tell. They are not dumb. You can pretend all you want, but they know when you're being sincere and when you really do have their best interests at heart. Anyone else? Yes.
I had a youth leader, and he was also a neighbor, and it was really nice to be able to have an adult that you could talk with. It wasn't your parent, it wasn't your older brother or sister, it was someone who was out of the family, but could understand and relate to you, and just be those ears to listen to you whenever you needed it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so a good listener and who's there for you and is not going to judge you. Because, I think a lot of times, I think it happened to all of us. We went to another adult at some time in our life because we're like, I don't know if my parent is going to understand this, or they might judge me. So that's really great. And that's another reason, I don't know, you guys have all gone through the training with the crisis intervention and all that. That might be a reason why they might reach out to you and talk about abuse or suicide or any other kind of negative things that are happening in their lives. So just be prepared for that. Once you make that, build that rapport with them and have that connection with them. Anyone else? Yes, Mandy.
So I was so self-conscious, and I remember a specific time when one of my leaders said, oh, that was so awesome. I don't remember what I did. This thing you did, I can see you being a leader someday. And I thought about that all the time. So kind of like Holly and Adrian said, pushes you to the occasion, but just offering sincere compliments and noticing things about people.
I love that, because we are going to talk about that, sincere compliments, not just something where it's oh yeah, you're a good kid. Something that is sincere, and you probably want to make it really personal and say something that, you know what I mean? You don't want to say something general. You want to pick a specific detailed thing, and that way they know it's sincere. And do pick something that you do like about them, even if they're, being a pest at times. Say, because I remember a similar thing when I used to work in Young Women's. I had this one girl, she could just rowdy them all up for good or for bad. And I said, you have a special quality where you are a great leader, and you can use that for good.
I think that was me.
Was that you, Mandy? Okay, anyone else on this side haven't shared too much? Yes.
I just had I had young women leaders who were really influential in my life, and it was just nice to have somebody who has been through the experiences that you've been through, and like they understand it from a different perspective because they've already been through it. And so to hear them and to hear their experiences, like what they went through and how they coped with it and what they did to like work through it is really helpful. I think it was helpful for me just to see like, yeah, they've been through all the same things, like, but this is how they overcame it and this is what worked for them, and it might not work for you, but it's just different things to try. So just having people who have a different perspective on it is what really helped me the most, and you just know that they're there for you and they're to support you and want the best for you.
Yeah, I think perspective is great, especially trying to put things in a positive spin. Because there can be teens who are going through a hard time and we're like, okay, well, what about this or what about that? And also that they could understand you. I think that's huge. I think as human beings, whether we're teens, children, adults, we just want to be felt like we're understood. So definitely using those good listening skills, using empathy, not sympathy, but empathy, you know. And, you know, do you guys know about the good listening skills where you're not repeating exactly what they're saying, but just trying to understand, saying, so what you're telling me is that it makes you really sad when da 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 da. And when you can say that to a person and you can definitely say, I'm so sorry you're going through that, it definitely makes them feel understood, which is a huge thing that especially teens want, I think, if they're going through a hard time. Anyone else? Over here or over here? Yes.
I just remember when I was in high school and going through like some rough stuff, I had a teacher who I think I was getting like a C- or something. And he was just like, you know, I know you're going through like the thick of it right now, but you know, like you're better than this, and just kind of calling me out, you know, like this is just saying it straight. And I think that like we don't necessarily need to be like, you know, laying down the hammer or something, but I think just kind of what we've been talking about, like being genuine and being like, you know, forthwith about what we have to say, I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, and I think there comes to a point where that relationship is built enough that they trust you so you can say those kind of things, where it's not like you're being critical, but you're saying, hey, you know, you can do more, you're better than this, I know that you can do it, you know. Okay, do you think that that's good?
That's good.
All right, so keep some of those things in mind while we're talking today, and I'll turn over the time to Jessica to talk about some other things.
And I just kind of wanted to build on that just a tiny bit. So we do target high-risk families. Obviously, every family is welcome. Every family can benefit from our curriculum. But that being said, we do try to get the most families that could use this the most, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so for some, this might be the first interaction that a teen is able to form that connection with an adult. So you guys are going to be role models for these teens who might not have both a mom and a dad in their home, or might have mom and dads that aren't great role models for them. They might not have any other adults that they look up to and can trust. And so you guys have the great opportunity of influencing them for good. And so I want you to just be thinking of your own personal experiences with these mentors that you just spoke about, and try to be that for these teens. And I think you can really make a big difference for them, and really just caring for them and hoping the best for them. Okay, so now let's talk about what we can do to build that connection. So I'm gonna make a list. I don't know how to do this with the microphone, it's weird. So let's make a list of the things that we can do.
I can make it for you.
Okay, yeah, that'll work. Sorry, I'm like super awkward right now. So please, let me know any things that you think we can do to build a connection with teens. Yeah,
Just being genuine.
being genuine, that's huge.
Just have to get on their level, understand what
Yeah.
they're going through, and kind of take yourself back to that. To
Right.
remember how it felt.
Yeah, no, that's great.
If I don't spell something right, don't judge me.
Yeah.
Should we
I
the
was
public
gonna
school?
say,
Yes, I did.
like setting aside your own agenda and just like
Yeah.
listening, because I feel like that can be hard, especially when you're like in a program and you have material you need to go over, but
Yeah.
setting aside your agenda and just being there.
Yeah, and we do. We have a curriculum, and in theory, we would like to get through our lesson and give them the handouts and the homework assignment, but ultimately, we're there for them. And what we have prepared might not be in their best interest at that moment, and so we might have to be a little more flexible and kind of adapt to whatever it is they need. Thank you.
I was gonna say, like, with my kiddos, we joke around a lot. So like, I think being able to be yourself and just kind of letting them see that goes a long way.
Awesome. So being yourself and having a sense of humor, maybe?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Kind of along with that, just being relatable, like, don't act like there's a huge age difference, even if there is, just try to be relatable.
Yeah, be relatable. I like that. Okay. Any others? Yeah.
Take your own experiences about something.
Yeah, that can be huge. Sharing your own experiences and that, I mean, letting them know that, hey, I was a teen once, I had a hard time once, like, yeah, that's huge. Okay.
Take a genuine interest.
Genuine interest, yeah. Again, showing them that you care about them. That's ultimately, your goal is that you care about them, you want them to succeed. It's not that you want to finish this lesson or we want to just end the day and get our hours in for the day. Yeah.
I think one way you can do that is like talk about things they want to talk about too.
Yeah,
Like, I
talk
have a
about things.
teenage brother and he's obsessed with chickens. He could talk about them for like an hour straight and you just listen and you're like, yeah, I love chickens.
So maybe we talk about chickens if they want to talk about chickens. Yeah.
Kind of treating it like my time, right? They get to kind of pick the topic or the subject and we just kind of roll with it.
I really love, last semester, we had some teens that would kind of come off and on, but they were, they had a blended family situation, divorced family type of situation. And I really loved that, like, Rachel and the teen teacher they had, that's what they were helping them with, and that's what they would talk about, because their struggles with that. And that was really great, because they didn't really, they sometimes veered off of the lesson because of, I think most of the time they did. And like you guys were saying, make it specific to what they needed.
Great. So just for Mackenzie and Julie's sake, yes, we adhere to the curriculum, okay?
We do.
But obviously if a teen needs something and they need to discuss something and you've built that connection or you're in the process of building that connection, we can talk about whatever the teen needs.
Yep.
But ultimately, we're not gonna start preaching on the doctrine of Jessica or anything like that, but we're gonna stick to our curriculum. But yes, we've got to build that connection, otherwise we're just talking to a wall, otherwise we're never gonna get anywhere and they're never gonna be able to grow. A few other things that we had just from our own little list was to make those sincere compliments. And Wilma had already mentioned that, but being specific, noticing specific things that they do well, that can be huge. And those comments, like with Mandy, can last for the rest of, you'll remember those comments. And so this is a good time to point out that they have good characteristics and they have skills and things that they can use for good. Another one, and we kind of mentioned this, was don't talk down to them. Like speak to them as if you're peers. I mean, you're not, yeah. So that can be really good. Otherwise, you're kind of putting up a barrier, like I'm up here, you're down here. Let's kind of work together, but yeah. Okay. Anything else? Yeah.
I would also say along those lines, it's important to not talk to other adults in front of teens about like teens.
Yeah. So
Because
maintain some
are
confidentiality.
Yeah, because they're like extremely smart, and once you've built a relationship with them, if they overhear you talking about them or just about teens in general and about like maybe like the teens are annoying or like whatever, that's really gonna damage
Yeah.
the relationship.
So we're not going to build on that stigma of teens are annoying or troublemakers or anything like that. We're going to, even out of their presence where they might hear, but maybe they're not listening, we're still going to adhere that we're not looking down on them. We're not thinking that they're all troublemakers, and I like that. That's great. Respect them. That's a good way to summarize it.
Yeah. Anything else?
Okay.
Very good. I'll switch as
Well, I would say like as long as they learn one thing from the lesson and they're gonna apply it, like that's awesome. Cause
Yeah.
they're leaving with like more knowledge than they came in.
So even if you can only get through one part of the lesson, that's better than none, yeah. And like I said, making that connection is far more important than anything we can teach them. Giving them that mentorship, that opportunity to make a connection with an adult and have that trust there. Any other thoughts? Okay. I'll make your list. Is that fair?
Okay, that's perfect. We're gonna make some more lists in a minute. And keeping in mind that, you know, learning like this, like for us is okay because we're adults, but teens might get bored with this. Obviously kids will, but you know, teens do also, so you have to be creative and change it up a little, which we're gonna talk about more later. Well, actually, we're gonna talk about it now. Sorry. So, no, you're fine. So I want to talk about encouraging creativity, and I'm using my little note cards because as we've all been told, we're not going to be using our manuals, we're not going to be using a piece of paper, you know. I mean, note cards are great just to keep your thoughts there, but, you know, being prepared and being flexible with the lesson, you know, we're not going to veer off too completely, but there's some things that are valid to the lesson that definitely could be applied every time, no matter what the situation, I feel like. And then also, you guys are going to talk about this more, but you have your BSWs that are going to come do their, you know, kind of like their group with the teens. And so be flexible to work with your BSW according to the needs of the teens, you know, not so regimented when it comes to classes. Okay, so we're going to create a list of creative ideas. I think it's kind of like break the ice type of situations because I think it's really difficult when they come in and they don't know you yet, and you talked about building trust, building rapport, building a relationship, and creative ways or good ways we can do that to connect with them, but also some fun activities, right? Because if they think that you're fun, they're gonna be more willing to connect with you, I feel like. So let's make a list of some things we can do. We have, well, I was just thinking like, we talked about a minute. Yeah, let's do like, we could do like minute to win it type of things. I think they would love that, right? As part of our lesson, we could have our little thing we're teaching, but then have some time for fun. Anything else that you guys can think of that you've done as activities that were really great?
I always loved Jeopardy in high school.
Jeopardy, I love that, Jeopardy.
Oh gosh, I have no idea how to spell it.
It's fine,
Jeopardy.
I don't think I spelled genuine right, but that's okay.
That's it.
Good job. Okay. All right, anything else, like team building challenges or anything? Yes.
2 truths and a lie is always fun.
2 truths and a lie, that one's pretty fun. We could do that at the beginning. Yeah, break the ice with that, and that one's always fun. Yes.
You do kind of like an assembly line activity, like
Okay.
where they have to build something as a team or something, and
That's
they
what
try
building.
and, yeah, and they try and figure out like where something slows down or, you know,
Okay.
how to make it work.
Okay, so they can build something together in a line or something.
Yeah.
And there's so many ideas on the internet, guys, for reals.
Pinterest.
Yeah, you can adapt. Yes, anything else that you guys can think of, creative activities to break the ice?
Even like short board games or card games, anything like that. Like just a quick little, let's get comfortable in this room and then we can talk.
Yeah.
You can get like a beach ball and have like different questions on that beach ball, and then you pass it, and wherever like your right thumb lands, you have to answer that question about yourself.
Okay, questions on a beach ball? Okay, that's a cool one. Anything else over here?
Yeah, we did one last time. Really, this is just to like get energy out or get
Okay.
energy even going, I think, a
Yeah.
little bit. And like, maybe at the beginning, good for icebreaker. So, maybe I'll hold the mic. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm gonna explain the
explain it.
game briefly.
Explain
Okay,
it briefly.
so-
Well,
Well, not brief enough to sum up again. Okay, so basically, it's so dumb. So you sit in a circle like this, or you can like, we actually stood up every time. And you like, when you hit your shoulder, okay, so if I hit my left shoulder like this, so you like cross your arms, okay? So these are your 2 options of where you can go. And when, if I hit this shoulder, that means that's the direction I'm sending like the thing. And when it's just a thing. So when I tap this shoulder, my left shoulder, it's Mandy's turn, and she has to choose a shoulder to tap. And she can like fake it out, so she can like look that way and like tap that way. It's really fun.
They loved it. And we like made, well, he said he's played a game like that, but like couldn't remember how to play, so we just like made it up on the spot, and they loved it.
That's-
Like every week they wanted to play, and it was awesome.
That's one small part of the actual game. I don't remember the whole game.
Oh, there's like more, okay. There's like more.
So the idea is to keep it fun, right? We don't want to be boring. We're going to lose them if we're being boring. One quick thing to engage them also is to set up the classroom in a way that, you know, you're seeing all of them. And that's why we did this circle idea, you know, kind of like group therapy type of thing, because we want to be able to see them all. But
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that. So there's, just in studies, just in general, if you have a desk between you and the person, it kind of like creates like a formal divide. Whereas if you're like this, for one, nobody can hide. Like we can see all of you. Everyone's kind of expected to participate because I'm making eye contact. And then again, there's not that, we're sitting down with you, and so we're all involved in this. And you're gonna have a much smaller group than this, so it's a lot easier to get everyone involved. And then when the BSWs come to do their group, then you're already set up for a group. So, I mean, this is just a suggestion, you don't have to do it, but just, I mean, studies show you have a desk, you're in a divide, you're in a power position, they're less than you. So this kind of equalizes us and kind of pulls us all on the same level. So.
yeah, and then sitting amongst them. And if you have more than one, you know, because you have some other people, have them sit in between them, not just like, well, we're kind of being a bad example right now because we're all up
Like
here,
yeah.
but because of the mic. But otherwise, we would all be distributed evenly, you know, throughout if there's a lot of us. One quick thing, we are going to talk about planning the lesson towards the end, but just the importance of being prepared. I know that sometimes we just come up with things on the spot, or if the teams want to do something, go with it, right? But always have something prepared. You know, your lesson, obviously. Are they having 2 teachers teach together? Okay, so each of you are preparing individually, but you're working together as a group. And then having your activity ready to go as well, because they can tell when you're not ready. They can tell. Other type of activities that are icebreakers, good old fun. Anything that you did, David, that helped with your teams?
Trying
That
to
you can
think.
think of?
Adrian has
Oh,
So people can introduce themselves in, like, they can say things they think are overrated, like such as like sports teams, TV shows, or like restaurants. And
okay.
then get other people engaged, because most likely someone else is gonna love that place that someone else thinks is overrated.
So like maybe finding common ground, like
Okay.
getting to know each other.
Like
maybe?
getting to know each other.
Opposite
Opposite
ground.
ground, because they're like, this place is super overrated, and this person's like, no, I love it. Some healthy type of, you know, debate back and forth.
Apple Music or iPhones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go.
We actually, one of the first ones we did was favorite movie or TV show. And we'd ask them why, because they would identify with a specific character, and it would tell you a lot about that team right off the bat. What character are they identifying with?
Okay, I've also heard like, what's your spirit animal, right? And talk about your spirit animal. That one's kind of interesting. Okay, anything else we can think of? Yes.
We did one of the why, I was trying to remember how it went, but like basically we're all together like pretty close. And then you like look up at a person and you make eye contact with them. They might be looking somewhere else, but the person, everyone looks at somebody, but if you're making eye contact with someone directly, you're both out of the game and you talk to each other. And it keeps going until people like all have someone to talk to.
Okay, so
I'm sure there's more to it, but it's pretty basic.
it's just a game where everybody's kind of playing, and then when you make eye contact with that person, you have a conversation.
Yeah, it's like 1, 2, 3, go, and then like,
And how long do they have the conversation? Just for a little bit?
like a minute or two.
Okay, a minute or two.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just have a question of like, what are limits that we can't do?
Limits of
Spin the
things.
bottle.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Or
I'm
I
like,
think spin the bottle.
that question. You're
well, I'm just curious, cause like, I grew up on like a farm and a ranch, and so like I have like wool whips and ropes and different
Yeah.
things that I could bring unless that's like.
Yeah.
So just, I think the restriction would be, remember where we're at, we're gonna be in a classroom.
Yes.
So we want to be careful and respectful of that.
I don't know, I, probably nothing they could get hurt in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
No
mean,
bullies.
if it's no bullets.
I would also say something.
Yeah, and I would say that if you wanted to, you could probably go outside. I would just make sure your site coordinators and your MSWs know where you're at, so that if something were to happen, we're not like, we lost a whole class. So,
Yeah, and be safe.
Did you have
I was just gonna say probably something with non-physical touch.
Yeah,
okay,
not
minimal
too-
physical touch.
Minimal physical touch too, yeah. You gotta respect
So
those
the not
professional
being, like where you
boundaries.
grab hands and untangle the knot, that probably would.
That might be a little too intimate for teens.
Some of them kind of depends, we'll see. But
We
anyways.
could demonstrate some of the handshakes and stuff that are allowed, fist bumps if you'd like. You up, Taylor?
Yeah. We have a side hug, but it was really.
Side hug, guys. If you were in the crisis class, yeah, we don't directly, I mean, if they initiate it, you don't want to turn them away, so the side hug is a good thing. Or tapping them on the
You all know what a
shoulder.
side
You can even do like the bro shoulder bump where you shake your hands and you pump the shoulders behind close. You can do stuff like that. but-
Something cool like that, something appropriate like that. Okay, can we think of anything else? You guys get creative, look at ideas, share ideas with each other. If something works for you, share it with other sites, other people, however you want to do that.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with object lessons either. So if there's a reason specific to the lesson for bringing in an item like a bullwhip, not to sling it across the room, but for a particular object lesson, it wouldn't be a horrible thing.
Okay, so speaking of, like creativity, Jessica and I, well, Jessica has it in charge, but I'm gonna help too. We're gonna do an activity that we learned in one of our therapy group classes, so it was actually pretty interesting. So we're gonna do that activity.
Take a balloon and pass it.
We're having a bowling.
Oh yeah, I'm having a boy.
And we're all having a voice, so.
Just a couple of years
How
ago.
many times have you used?
Not this. Yeah, these
This is
are
the very first
these are my
time
leftover
I've used-
balloons. That's why they're all blue now. I've used all my other ones. So just blow up that balloon and tie it off for us.
Did we not have enough for everyone?
No, and we're gonna have to share, which is fine.
We'll share. For those of you that didn't get it.
One of the lessons you'll learn about is called ANTS. So it's automatic negative thoughts. Okay, and it's a therapeutic technique that we all have automatic negative thoughts, and so this is an example of how you could do a fun activity but still teach the lesson. Okay, so like I said, one of the things is called stomping out the ants, which are your automatic negative thoughts. So now what I'm gonna do, so now we have balloons, and we're gonna have to share balloons, which was
Yeah.
totally expected.
Yeah.
So I have a marker, and I want you to write an automatic negative thought. So some examples would be, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I don't have enough friends, things like that. I'm not a good friend. So they're negative. But they're things that we tell ourselves. They're little thoughts that we have.
Everyone has them.
Yeah, everyone does. And so that's what we're writing down. So, and we're gonna have no way if you're not signing it. We're gonna have no way, and since we're passing it, no one will know what you wrote, okay? So that's where we're gonna start. So now we're going to, let's all stand up.
My brother does.
And so in theory, if you had enough balloons, Parker, come back. In theory, if you had enough balloons, everyone would pick a balloon, and there would be one thing written on it. But so we're just gonna have 6 volunteers. Math is hard. And so what you're gonna do is you're going to pick a balloon. You're going to read on it one of the automatic negative thoughts, okay? And what I'm gonna have you do is reframe it. And so reframing is taking that negative thought and turning it into a truth. So maybe if you say, I'm not good enough, you could turn that into saying like, but I'm trying my best, or something like that. Like, I'm trying my best, I'm doing the best I know how. And so that's what we're going to do, and then you get to stomp it and pop it, okay? So can I have a volunteer? Who would like to go first? Okay, Parker, pick one.
All right.
You can read all of them or just one of them? And, or, no, never mind, just one.
Yeah, just pick yours. We don't have,
Like, not all of
Okay.
them, we don't have
I
time.
don't have a job,
I don't have a job. Oh.
but I have 3 interviews next month.
Very good.
Okay, so you're working towards a job.
Whoa.
I need to move, it's just.
Oh,
sensitive to
how
me.
about? Okay, so
All right,
stop it.
stop it.
So you might need to be sensitive if somebody maybe
Yeah, if they have issues
PTSD
with.
and yeah, maybe don't stop it. But okay.
No,
No, that was perfect,
Oh.
but I forgot to
Yeah.
do that little one.
Maybe if you have a team that has like sensory issues, maybe it's not a good activity, but just plug. All
Okay, do
right.
you want to pick one?
All right.
I'm never going to graduate.
I'm never going to graduate. No, I can feel that.
I think everyone feels that way at one point or another.
I'm never going to graduate, but eventually I will.
Okay, eventually I will graduate.
Eventually, that's true.
Okay, and you can stomp out the ants. We might need somebody who has like
I just
more
want to know
hills.
these
Yeah.
shoes, it's just not gonna happen. I'm not scared of it, I just feel like.
I am scared of it.
Alright.
Okay,
First try.
one of you want to?
I can do it. I can do it, but I'm not
Yeah.
stopping on it, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not smart,
I'm not
but
smart.
I am learning every day.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
really
learning
pop it, I really hate popping balloons. Like, I don't have to
You wanna
PTSD,
pop it
but.
for her?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be
Yeah.
picky, I just really hate it.
Your teens will be all over it. Do you mind?
I have
doing the one
anger
right in front of you?
issues, that must have been Wilma's.
I have no talent,
I have no talent.
but I'm working on getting better at things.
Okay, but I'm working at getting better things. Okay.
I don't know if these shoes will pop it.
Woo! Good job. Hey. Alright. Over here.
Your shoes would've worked.
Okay, go ahead.
I can't talk,
I'm a bad teacher,
I'm a bad teacher.
but I am getting better with more experience.
Yes,
Very
very
good,
experience.
very good.
Nice. Good job. Okay, Taylor, I think I have to
Yeah,
take
Taylor.
this.
Ah.
Taylor, I can't make it easy.
Okay, it says I'm incapable.
I'm incapable.
How would I do that? I'm trying.
Okay, I'm trying.
Yeah.
Good. So does that make sense? Oh, yeah. sorry.
Yeah, right, that's your job.
Oh, that was close.
That was close.
I thought somebody was gonna have something with that
All right.
Okay, well, thanks for participating in our little activity. So I just want you to see that we can still teach the material, we can teach the curriculum, but make it fun and make it entertaining for them and make them want to participate by getting up out of their seat and doing something fun rather than just listening to a lecture. So, okay, we're going to turn it over to our BSWs who are going to talk about the teen group. So you'll teach your teen class, and then your BSW will come in and do like a little group, which is literally like therapy, like a therapy group where they can just talk. I feel like I'm in your way.
Scooch over.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, come on.
Come on over, Jay.
So just really fast, so I'm not sure if it's been explained, it probably has, but the teen group will be the last 15 minutes
Yep.
of class. So it would be really nice, I mean, you can talk to one of us about it beforehand, but just try to end on time, because there is a 5-minute break, I think, between the class and then the teen group. And sometimes, things get carried away, things go over, but then maybe something that needs to be brought up by a teen they won't be able to because they won't have the time. So, yeah, and then the purpose, it's kind of the same purpose as you guys. We're trying to build relationships. We want them to have a safe place to go where they can talk to people and they won't be judged, where they'll be able to talk about, family members, parents, friends, and none of us will necessarily know who those people are. And then just being able to express themselves kind of goes along with that. And then learning skills. sometimes group can either be open to, it kind of depends, we like leave it up to the teens on what they would like to talk about, but if they don't, then I was, last semester, none of my teens wanted to talk, they were all dead silent the whole time. So I planned activities like psychoeducational activities where they were able to learn skills and being able to practice, and it would kind of force them to open up a little bit. So I found that really helpful as well. And then, what else?
Okay, also, kind of new this semester, the program directors are a little bit more flexible as far as the time of the teen class and the teen group. So whatever site you're at, just coordinate with the BSW there, which will be one of us three. And just work out like what time breakout you want. Maybe you have a teen group that, I mean like the group of people, not like the group activity thing, that really likes class for some reason. So you want like more time on that, or maybe you have a teen group that just really is not getting anything out of classes by like week 2 or 3, and so you like determine that maybe teen group will be like 30 minutes. So just know that that's an option, and really the most important thing is just the teens, like has been said, building relationships with them and learning about what their needs are and how they learn. So like Rachel said, I think one of the main things that we can do in teen group is like kind of process life, and that can look a lot of different ways. So I'll just share some of the things that I've done in my teen groups, and maybe you guys can share some of what you've done. I think, so we did like some fun activities and then just some, I would pose a question and we would just talk. Like a couple weeks we talked about what are emotions and what is a good emotion and what is a bad emotion, and are there bad emotions, and what can we do with what we call bad emotions. And then another week we did an activity where I brought newspapers from UVU and had them like cut out a headline that described their life in this moment. And I had them choose like one funny headline and one serious headline. And that went pretty well. Most of them chose only funny twice. And then another thing we did, does anyone know the game Spotted? It's like a matching game. No one. It's a really fun game. $10 too on Amazon. Basically it's this, it's like a matching game. Everyone has a stack of cards and you find what matches on your card with the middle card. Anyways, we played like this board game and then connected it to life by saying like whoever wins, they choose a category of something that we're going to spot in other people. So say I won the game, I could say to the group, okay, let's spot like something we like about David, and then we go around and say something we like about David. And that was a good activity for, what?
We can't think of anything.
That was a good activity. I mean, really an activity like that is good for a lot of things, but I think the obvious one is like self-confidence, and even awareness of other people's strengths. So those are some things that I did. Please, share.
You go. I wasn't prepared. I thought my part was over.
So I think one of my favorite ones we did, and this kind of just gets into why we do group, right? Group is it's an opportunity for people sort of a same demographic, right, to get together and share an experience. So groups can be centered around whether they're teens, it could be crisis, somebody experienced trauma, specific traumas, right? And so we take this demographic of teen and put them in a group. One of the exercises that I love doing with groups right off the bat is what I call the high-lows. And we go around the group and we see, okay, what was my high for the week? What was my low for the week? When they hit that low, we can identify maybe something that we need to talk about. Maybe there's an issue there that we want to address. We did this once in one of our teen groups, and one teen had said, okay, this was my low for the week. And the teen two seats down said, you know what, I had that very same problem like 3 weeks ago. Turns out it was with the same teacher, and man, it just opened up into some crazy stuff. It was awesome. But yeah, that's kind of the purpose of group. But finding little activities that engage them, not with me, but with each other, is my goal. Because that's where they're going to draw that support. In 10 weeks, I'm gone. But those relationships they have with people, their peers, is what's going to survive, and that's what's important. So.
So, I think one of the favorite activities, kind of going along with what Dave said, I had like a class of goofballs. They just would always joke, always laugh, and they're crazy. And so I couldn't really get them to talk about anything seriously. They'd always make jokes, but I had them write out a timeline from when they were born to this time now, and I had them write 2 high points in their life and 2 low points. And then I had them choose 2, 1 high and 1 low, and they explained what they learned from those. And so that helped a lot. It like taught me a lot about them. They told me a lot about themselves, and maybe things that they would have never brought up in the first place. So that's kind of what I see as the benefit of like planning those activities, because sometimes in group, I mean, it depends on the group obviously, but sometimes they may not feel comfortable enough to share, or they don't really know what they need to talk about yet, but kind of sparking those ideas of what they need to process or what they may need to talk about, I think helps a lot. So
I think some of the other things that we try to keep in mind too, guys, you guys are the teachers, you're developing this relationship with the teens, and you're getting 40 minutes with them that we don't get, because we're still floating around and checking out classes and seeing how all the interactions are going, even with little kids and the parents. But when you guys stay with the teen group, maybe somebody said something during class that is worth bringing up, right? Pull your BSW aside and say, okay, this is what came out during class. It might be worth exploring, right? Now, we don't want to get into deep therapy stuff because that goes beyond our scope of practice or what we should be practicing anyway. But when there's, superficial, I don't want to say superficial, what's the word I'm looking for? Not deep issues, but when there's something, surface level issues, yes, there you go. So when we have some surface level issues come up, and I guess even deep issues, we can pass that on to our MSWs and address that. But those surface level issues, the bullying, things like that might be happening in school, we can address those in a group, and we can allow those peers to actually work with each other to help solve their own problems. And that's the really cool part, is when they learn to start solving their own problems. That's the neat stuff. With that being said,
Do you guys have any questions about teen group?
Yeah, let's address questions right now.
So,
Yeah.
just to clarify, is it every week, then the last 15 minutes? And that will have an BSW or an MSW, or both, or one?
So it will be a BSW.
Okay.
And I just want to instill some hope. Like, they're getting their bachelor's in social work, but all 3 of them have been accepted into a master's of social work program. It is only 1 year, so it's called an advanced standing. So they're amazing, and they are, yeah, they can do this, and they did it all last semester. So yeah, I just want you to know that they're
Did we
great.
not give hope?
Did
we not express that?
It wasn't like, are they just BSWs? I was just curious, like, who was there, like, I think.
No, that's a great
I just-
question.
Yeah, I just.
and we try to keep, the point of the group too is to make sure that we try to keep it, we don't want it changing, right? So we try to keep the same BSW in there, we want the same
Okay.
teachers. When you start bringing in even administrators, I've kicked it, I'm telling you now, I've kicked administrators out of group therapy, out of teen group, because they're not normally there, and the teens have a tendency to clam up when new elements are introduced to their group. So, yeah, same BSWs and the teachers. We like for the teachers to stay in there with us.
And are you giving us that authority to kick out administrators?
No.
We will do that. We will do that, and the teen group.
Yeah.
So we had a really awesome, I sat in a lot with Taylor at Orem last semester, and the teachers did really good at like setting up communication. So we went in one time and he's like, you know what, they're talking a ton, we're gonna go with this. And it was about like drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
So you guys really like set the stage for stuff we can talk about. And we'll go with you if they're talking about stuff and that day they were like getting into drug problems and like who had been offered drugs, and it was like, yeah, this is awesome, you guys need to talk about this. So you guys are like our helpers and like bridging the gap, like they said.
So, and we as MSWs, we will, I mean, I'm sure we'll come to your classes. We, at least for me, I tend to go to wherever I think there's the biggest need. So if I hear there's lots of high-risk conversation, maybe there's been conversations about suicide, stuff like that, that's the class I'm gonna be in. Because that's potentially where I'm gonna be needed. So if you guys notice a concern, please reach out to us, because that's how we know if there's a concern, is that you guys have reached out and told us that potentially there could be some additional help needed, so.
And don't be afraid, guys. Remember, this is your class. We had a class last semester at Lake Ridge. It's a practice that will not happen anymore, but we allowed one of the teens who was uncomfortable to bring in some friends. Can I invite some friends to a group? And we were like, yeah, that'd be great. Bring in friends. And they came in, and nothing wrong with the lifestyle, but it was a lesbian couple, and there was a lot of active PDA going on, and the teachers did not know what to do. So this went on in class for like 30 minutes until I showed up. And as soon as I spotted the first issue, I said, hey, like, we don't do that here. We don't allow really the parents to like make out in the hall, so please don't do that. So they got offended, and then we kind of put an end to the practice of bringing friends into the class. But you know, it's your class. Don't be afraid to speak up and set the ground rules for your teens either, okay? There was something else I was gonna touch on, and I don't remember right off the top of my head.
Can I say something
Yep.
along the lines of rules and stuff? I think it's great when you have the teams set up the rules, like what are our rules for our class, you know, and then carry those into the group as well, because they could be valid rules, like you don't talk over people, you don't have side conversations, you know, you respect other people's beliefs even if they're different than yours. Just some examples, and they will come up with them themselves, I guarantee it. And if not, you can throw some out there and they could be like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great rule, that's something we probably should do. Anything else?
I remember it, confidentiality. So that,
Yes.
and that's one of the rules we actually set up with our teens at the beginning of group is a sense of confidentiality. So we want them to understand that when they say something in the group, it's a safe place to say it. It doesn't go outside. We don't talk to their parents about it. We don't talk to interns outside of class about what was said in group. We would, not that we have a way to regulate this, but we would prefer that you not take this home and talk to your spouse about it. It's something that happens in group, and the teens need to know it's confidential and it stays there for their benefit. So that's
Except for safety things.
right.
Yeah,
Mandatory
those are things we
reporting.
have to report.
You know, if they
Yeah.
say, "Hey, I feel like I'm gonna kill myself," yeah, we need to report that. We need to deal with that. But yes.
If we have somebody that we know who we feel like we're doing an activity and we feel like it'd be really cool to have this person come and talk to the group about something they've maybe been through, or something that they have a lot of experience teaching on or something, do we,
Like a
can
guest
we-
speaker?
Yeah. can we
Yeah,
hear
so
that
the
before?
question was, can we have guest speakers come in that might specialize in particular issues?
Yeah.
Or particular topics? I don't think we've ever had that happen before.
You don't have a whole lot of time, I'll just tell
Yeah,
you that.
and bottom line is, let's be honest, this is your internship. You're supposed to be teaching the class with the curriculum given, and so I wouldn't recommend it.
Maybe clear it with your site education
Yeah, that's what I was
coordinator.
gonna say.
And they might bring that to a staff meeting and have to staff it, but yeah, usually, I'm gonna guess that if you're getting the hours to teach the class, they're gonna want you to actually teach the class, rather than bringing guest speakers to take up your time, but. Any other questions? Team group? Okay.
Hey, we're gonna pass it on to Wilma.
All right, so we want to talk about how you're going to do your lessons just a little bit. And so I already talked about using note cards and not going from your manual or a paper or something, right? And how you are both going to be team teaching, right? But you both need to be individually prepared as well. There could be an instant where for some reason your other person can't come because they're ill or something, and we'll work it out once we're there. But, you know, be prepared, kind of read their section too. You know, you never know. But be prepared is the big one, like we talked about with activities, make it fun. So we're gonna pair up right now, and that's why I wanted you guys to have your manuals. So I need to do 10 groups, right?
There's not 10 of us. There's 18 of us, so we could, if we
Yeah.
participate, we could do 9.
Okay, So,
Or we
I
can just
thought
do
we
the
had
first
enough.
Or just do your teachers, because they're gonna figure
Eight,
it out.
10. Yeah, let's just do it teachers. Yeah, we're not going to pair up with you guys. So, and I think there's going to be a couple of groups that need to lead. So I just
No, let's
need.
just do two. Okay, let's do who's at your site, so you can kind of get to
Oh
know
yeah, that
your
would be a
person
great
too.
idea. Let's do that.
And if your person's not there, then one of us will jump in with you. Do you know who your co-teacher is?
Okay, great. So they're together. So, you guys.
Who's at Lakebridge?
Who's at your site?
I think Holland, are you your team at Lakebridge?
Yeah, I get them mixed up. I'm doing 2 sites. I'm doing kids at right before.
Okay, so you two.
Yeah, you
are
two will get together.
So we only have 6.
Oh,
Or as if we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that.
Okay, so you guys will do lesson 1.
But no.
We only have 6.
No, never mind.
We're good.
Never mind.
So-
We're gonna do this. We're not gonna do the 10. We're gonna do 6 lessons. So you guys do the first, second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the 6th lesson. Sorry.
Oh, do you want to explain what they're doing?
Oh, yeah, sorry. All right, so this is what we're doing. I am going to give you guys maybe like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
About 10 minutes to go over the lesson. And then we want you to kind of prepare a summary because it is
2-minute summary.
yeah, so it's a lot of material, right? But we want you to hit on what's most important. And as you get to know them, you'll see which ones are the key things that you probably should talk about. You know, if you have a team that's with, you know, a particular problem or a particular situation, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, we're gonna have to talk about this because this team in our class really needs this. So your person that's teaching with you, you guys are gonna have to like exchange numbers, maybe talk throughout the week, find out how you're splitting up this class. So yeah, so it's just kind of a brief overview of the material. But go ahead and, oh, and then one homework assignment. We're gonna go ahead and start, and group 1 can give us like an overview of the lesson, the points they would wanna hit, and then, you know, what the homework would be. So I'll let
We
you
have
guys.
about 2 minutes.
Yeah, about 2 minutes to talk about it. Go ahead.
All right, so lesson 1 is notice and compliment the good daily. And so we would want to kind of start off the lesson by explaining what it can do and how compliments can help others. So we want to explain to them that complimenting your family members and being specific with your compliments will help you guys bond as a family and will help gain trust so that everyone can trust each other and expect that sort of kindness from one another. And I think we would kind of open up with one of the examples about being specific, and it just says that it's a young teenager, obviously, and his parents came and picked him up, and he said, "Thanks for picking me up from practice on time, Mom or Dad. It helps me trust you because I know I can count on you." So shows that these teens can trust their parents, and that's what we would want to demonstrate right from the beginning.
And there are some guidelines that we can have for the compliments. And the first it says give it immediately for good behavior. So since we will explain like in this example that since when the dad or mom came to pick him up, you said like he thanked them right away. And then the second one is be excited and sincere. And you and he show that he's happy about that. And then be specific about the compliments that you're giving to your parents. And in this case, will be thanks for picking me up. And say how it benefits the person. And in this example, it says, it helps me to trust you because I can count on you. And the fourth is gentle touch. In this case, it says you can touch the person. So after probably the example, we will go through this by guidelines about how to compliment like each other and how it might affect or how we have family.
Yeah, and then the one of the last parts that we would like to hit on is the criticism aspect on how family members can stop criticizing one another. And so we would like to give them a homework assignment where they they take the entire week and they write down every single time they criticize someone, what time it was and why they did it and what they said and how they felt. And then bring that paper to the next class so the next class we can look at why they were doing it, what they were doing it, who they were talking to, and then set another homework assignment after that on, you know, trying to stop that. So when you feel those moments where you want to criticize someone, you can realize it because you've already written it down, and then stop and divert your feelings.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so lesson 2 is great communication skills and fun family meetings. So the first thing we talk about is respect and how you want to give respect, like when you're communicating with your families. And then we would go to the second concept, which is love listening, using iMessages, and being respectful. And I think we would focus on like taking one of the concepts and doing love listening and kind of just talk about the do's and don'ts of being a good listener. And just kind of like role play with our teams about it. And then we would move on to the next one.
And so the last 3 concepts, we would go over those, and they are the dirty dozen, which is like insults and things that you would say to people that hurt their feelings that damage family relationships. And the next concept is weekly, well, it's like in the title, fun family meetings. So we talk about weekly meetings with the family, good communication, everyone being able to speak their mind and no one insults each other during that. Like everything you say is a good idea. And the last thing is concept 5. And that is using words like I love you often and, an apology. For our homework assignment, we would give an example of a good apology and then ask them to go home and think of someone they've offended. Family, most likely within the family, maybe friends or something, and offer an apology, sincere one, and they'll feel better, and so will other person. And have them come back and talk about it maybe kind of the next week to kind of review what they did for the homework assignment. Okay.
So we had lesson 3, and it's rules, rewards, and responsibilities. And so those are the 3 R's for a successful home. So the rewards for like following the rules and having good responsibility. There's a social reward, which is compliments, praise, and hugs from the parents. And what we learned in the online training was those were like the most beneficial kinds of rewards to children for their development. And then there's privileges, again with the online lesson, such as like a driver's license. You can like put them through driver's ed because it's a privilege for them to drive. And then there's material rewards, which is something like clothes or money.
So I think we would talk a lot about not just what rules, rewards, and responsibilities are, but why it's important to have all 3 of them within a home. So one of the power phrases is rules, rewards, and responsibilities create order in a home and teach children skills to contribute to society. And so really, the 3 R's are interdependent because you can't have rewards if you don't have rules and responsibilities. They kind of just depend on each other. Oh, homework. Yeah.
So for the homework, we decided that we would have each student go home and they need to make their own rules and responsibilities for themselves to follow before they decide to make up rules for other people to follow, because you have to be true to yourself and follow your own types of rules and give your own personal rewards before you can expect other people to follow rules.
Okay, ours is lesson 4, and it's limits and consequences encourage good behavior. And for this, we want to focus on teaching them how to master the 3 social skills, which are impulse control, following instructions, letting stuff know nicely, and then staying calm during consequences. We can call teaching them those.
And with those, just kind of being able to know how to impulse control and how to follow instructions and accept no nicely. In the back of the book here it says, whenever your parents use positive discipline instead of yelling or beating you, compliment them so that they will keep doing it. So kind of like when we have good behavior and our parents compliment us on that, we need to also compliment our parents when they use the discipline nicely and when we are accepting those terms and the consequences that we've set forth for ourselves. And then for the homework,
For the homework assignment, we had the brain game assignment, which is really just like track their impulses and how they're controlling it, and be able to reward themselves if they like resist eating an unhealthy snack after school or something like that.
Thank you. Okay, so our lesson is on problem solving and win-win negotiation. So I think this is like a really good one for teens, and I could have really used it too. Like, as a teen, you kind of want to learn how to negotiate with your parents because you do that a lot, and just with things in life. And so I think it's really good. So what we would want to teach them is just there's the 5 C's, which sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head. Okay. Okay, so it's caution, cool it, change plan, catch you later, and call me. And so we would just kind of teach them about those, and then talk to them about all of the ways that are in the book. There's the different concepts that they have, how teens can effectively problem solve, and what they can do to negotiate in a positive way and get what they want, but also have whoever they're negotiating with get what they need as well. So it would be positive on both sides. And then, what's there?
And then just like pre-problem solving.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, pre-problem solving. So before the problem happens, we want to teach them how they can prevent the actual problem from happening by discussing it with whoever or doing what they need to beforehand to do that, just with the activities and stuff.
Yeah, and then for the homework, it's going to go along with the 5 C's that Olivia talked about. And so those are when a problem does arise. It's the other problem solving and pre-problem solving that work, or just when a problem comes up, you use the 5 C's. So we're going to have them go home and explain the 5 C's to one of their friends and try and get them on board as well with doing it. And then they're going to come back and we'll just ask them how their friends reacted and if they seemed into it or not, and just kind of how they can actually apply.
Okay, cool. So for lesson 6, it's about stress and anger management. So we begin by defining what stress is, going over the differences between good stress and bad stress, and then more fully understanding the triggers of relaxation responses, and we would go through an activity of calming breaths, and mindfulness, and all that good stuff. And then, yeah, the next concept.
Okay, so the next concept, we talk about how to manage our anger, because it's a very it's an understandable emotion, and it's just all about understanding what triggers an anger response, and then learning how to reduce it. So as well as reminders. So it's like maybe having a word or something that's like, oh, that's my reminder to help trigger that relaxation response. And then it's also just learning how to identify anger, and then how to replace it with something more with a pro-social approach as opposed to an anti-social approach. So that would be how to be assertive about how you're feeling without becoming aggressive or emotionally manipulative.
So overall, we're just going to be teaching about emotional intelligence. And then our homework is, there's a handout that we go over a little bit in class when we're talking about stress. And basically they take it home and they review it with their parents, and they identify a lot of their own stressors in life and their major stresses. And then with their parents, they'll find solutions to maybe eliminate some things in their lives that are causing them really intense stress. So,
Thank you. That's great. I thought that was really great. Just an example of how you can do a short overview of what the lesson is, and then you guys are going to prepare, each of you your parts and how you're going to go about it, right? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Is there anything else that we have?
Cookies.
Justin's going to add something.
I wanted to let you know, in case you don't already know this, each class, it doesn't matter if you're a younger child, if you're a teen or a parent, you're getting the same curriculum. So the whole family is working on the same goal. So the week that we're talking about rules, parents are talking about rules, the young kids are talking about rules, and so in that week, their homework as a family is going to be setting rules. So that's perfect, and I just want you to know that the whole family's working on it. The family's going to be working on complimenting, parents are supposed to be complimenting kids, and we also teach kids to be complimenting parents and other family members. So, just so you're aware of that.
And they're family teachers, so after the class is over and they come to family class for 15 minutes, they're actually gonna have an activity about that, and yeah, that, they'll send that homework home. It's really well designed to do just that.
Hey, any questions about what
Yeah.
we talked about
Do
today?
you guys have any questions about the curriculum, about working with teens, or just the program in general?
I know that for me in your position last semester, I felt like really overwhelmed because, I mean, basically you were being told, these are all the requirements, make sure that you fill these requirements. And I mean, by its nature, this is something that you like kind of have to do. You have to prepare for your lesson, you get your hours, you have to be there, you have to cover the material. So I think it can feel like kind of restricting, but I would just say, like you can do some reframing and like make it your own. Like of course you still have to like fulfill all the requirements, but just make it your own. And I think now is the time to do that, because I know, at least in my experience, after the first or second week, the tone is already set. And it's possible to change things obviously, but it's really hard to change the overall tone and what you're going to be giving to your classes and what the teens are going to get as a result. So whatever that means to you, making it your own, if that means like, okay, I'm going to forget about all the lessons for a second and think like, what do I really want to do for the teens, or what would I want in this situation? I think that can add a lot to the tone of what you do.
Have fun with it.
Yeah, for sure.
And overall, I just want to say from just experience, the short time we've had together, you guys are all going to be great teachers. And again, you have this great opportunity to influence these teens for good. So I'm really excited for you all. And it's going to be a great semester.